Good day, everyone. I'm Bernard F. Bapilar, a faculty member of the College of Criminal Justice in the University of Bohol, Philippines. As a faculty member of this prestigious institution, I am proud that I am here together with you, representing my department, and to share the various knowledge and understanding as what we have gathered in this research. So without further ado, let me start my presentation in this fifth Asia Pacific Conference on Interdisciplinary Research. Shown in this slide are the coordinates and the satellite image of our school. The University of Bohol is the first university in the province of Bohol. It was formerly known as Rafael Palma College. In our prestigious university, we teach students to embody the Trinity of Virtues: scholarship, character, and service. On this slide, as the COVID-19 ravaged the country, a lot of people were affected. Professions around the country shifted from on-site work to online work. However, not all jobs followed this phenomenon. Frontliners such as medical workers and police officers continued their on-site work despite the dangers of the virus. In working conditions like this, there is a compelling reason to conduct this study. Specifically, this study delves into how police officers resolve stress that they encountered in their workplace during the COVID-19 pandemic. In line with this, I am honored to present to you this work entitled An Exploratory Study of the Tagbilaran PNP Personnel Cognizance of Work Distress during the COVID-19 pandemic. Objectives: to determine which facets of everyday life are almost difficult for police officers. Second, to come up for a solution on those difficult moments so that police officers could learn on how they can cope with it. Third, to establish early medical planning to a situation like pandemic. Framework: this study is anchored on the following theories, namely strain theory, theory of preventive stress management, state control theory of adaptation and individual differences of stress management, psychological theories of stress, theories of work-related stress, strain theory. In sociology proposes that societal pressures such as a lack of money or a lack of access to a decent education motivate people to commit crimes. The basic premise of general strain theory is that people who are depressed or anxious become distressed or disturbed, which can cause them to commit crime as a coping mechanism. Emotion as a motivator for violence is one of the theory's primary purposes. Theory of preventive stress management. This theory provides a guide for practicing positive stress prevention. The book starts with a comprehensive overview of the stress field from its medical and psychological roots in the early 1900s to its psychological elaborations in the second half of the century to its current application and practice in business. State control theory of adaptation and individual differences of stress management. After a preliminary examination of stress symptoms, a more comprehensive, more broadly applicable mechanism for adaptive behavior control is proposed. Individual variation may be derived from a variety of sources. According to this theory, this may emerge from this control system and inherent variability in cognitive and energetic sources. Psychological theory of stress. Since stress is one of the most fascinating and enigmatic topics we've studied since the dawn of time, it's not only about what happens to the body during a stressful situation, but also about what happens to an individual's psyche. The different psychological theories of stress suggested by James M. Lance. Methodology, design, qualitative research. Environment, Tagbilaran City, Bohol. Informants, police officers of Tagbilaran City Police Station. The instrument, interview guide, field notes, and voice recorder. Methodology, Kulaysis method in phenomenological tradition was used in extracting the emergent themes from the regrouping of clusters through the formulated meaning. Result and discussion. 5 themes were generated for the stressful experience of the informant's cognizance of work distress during the COVID-19 pandemic, namely, upside down, fear is universal, circumvention, a complication to a delinquent person, desire of power and success, upside down. This first theme answered the different bad experiences encountered by the informants. Most of them answered these questions on how they encountered the stress of the work during the time when the COVID-19 pandemic was at its high peak. Also, they answered how does the pandemic affects their daily lives. Based on their statements, we could conclude that the present psychological theories of stress, since stress is one of the most fascinating and enigmatic topics we've studied since the dawn of time. It's not only about what happens to the body during a stressful situation, but also about what happens to an individual's psyche. The different psychological theories of stress suggested by James and Lance, Cannon, and Brad and Schachter and Singer will be discussed in this article. Fear is universal. This theme presents the stressful different experiences they encountered in doing their jobs. Most of their answers were pulled out from their sympathy towards everything, which creates stress for them. In relation to this, a study according to the most widely accepted transactional theory. Theories of work-related stress are the direct result of a transaction between a person and the environment, which can tax their resources and thus jeopardize the well-being. Circumvention. This theme presents how the PNP personnel responded to these bad experiences, which causes them to have stress during their work. A state control theory of adaptation and individual distress of stress management. After a preliminary investigation of stress symptoms, a more comprehensive, more broadly applicable mechanism for adaptive, comprehensive behavior control is proposed. Individual variation may be derived from a variety of sources according to this theory. This may emerge from the control system and inherent variability in cognitive and energetic sources. A complication to a delinquent person. This theme presents what particular challenges that the PNP personnel face as a frontliner during the COVID-19 pandemic. The basic premise of the general strain theory is that the people who are depressed or anxious become distressed or disturbed, which can cause them to commit a crime as a coping mechanism. Emotion as a motivator for violence is one of the theory primary purposes. Desire of power and success. This team answered how PNP personnel deal with these challenges they have encountered during their work. The team is anchored on a state-controlled theory of adaptation and individual differences in stress management. After a preliminary examination of stress symptoms, a more comprehensive, more broadly applicable mechanism for adaptive behavior control is proposed. Individual variations may be derived from a variety of sources according to the theory. This may emerge from the control system and inherent variability in cognitive and energetic resources. Result and discussion. 3 themes were generated as to how the informants resolve and address the work distress during the COVID-19 pandemic. Benefits of hard work, discontented, approved responsibility. Benefits of hard work. In this category, the informants stated that the government never left them in spite of everything that happened. According to the most widely accepted transactional theory, theories of work-related stress are the direct result of a transaction between a person and their environment, which can tax the resources and thus jeopardize their well-being. Discontented. The initial response of the PNP personnel is that the organization initiates to maximize resources to help according to the most widely accepted transactional theory. Theories of work-related stress are the direct result of a transaction between a person and their environment, which can tax the resources and thus jeopardize their well-being. Approved responsibility. This team presents as a motivation of a PNP personnel who experienced stress and bad experiences during the pandemic. In their experience, they include the part where the government provides them with that they deserve. A state-controlled theory of adaptation and individual differences of stress management after a preliminary examination of stress symptoms, a more comprehensive, more broadly applicable mechanism for adaptive behavior control is proposed. Individual variation may be derived from a variety of sources according to this theory. This may emerge from the control system and inherent variability in cognitive and energetic implications. Police officers and other frontliners in the Philippine National Police should strengthen awareness and safety on how they can handle these things like a pandemic. The PNP and provisional government must conduct a rigorous consultative meeting on Oplan Bandelio. A need for training and seminars. Seek the assistance of professionals in the field. COVID-19 pandemic preparedness, like other emergency planning activities, should be a multidisciplinary, multi-agency endeavor. Implications for future study. The researchers recommend the conduct of in-depth inquiry on the following topics: an evaluation of the services and help extended by the local government, DOH, and PNP. Inquiry into using existing connections. Here are now the bibliography. To all the organizers of this event, I want to express my gratitude to this opportunity to share my knowledge to a lot of people. To the University of Bohol, University Research Center, thank you for the opportunity to showcase my study. Once again, I am Bernard F. Bapilar. Thank you and good day.